Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about my 10 favorite ocean-based horror movies of all time. And with that, let's get to the list.
What are we gonna do?
We have got to get off this boat now.
Bon voyage.
Ghost Ship is a 2002 supernatural horror movie. Directed by Steve Beck, it stars Gabriel Byrne, Juliana Margulies, and Carl Urban. A salvage crew discovers a long-lost 1962 passenger ship floating lifeless in a remote region of the Bering Sea, and soon discovers that the long-dead inhabitants may still be on board.
I think I saw something I couldn't possibly have seen. I think I saw a little girl.
So this is one of those movies that in some ways it's so bad it's good, because it's not a great movie, and especially if you rewatch it now, like it's one of those movies that at the time a lot of us loved it and we remember it fondly. But if you rewatch it, it's pretty campy, it's cheesy, the CGI doesn't really hold up in a lot of cases. The dialogue is not great, there's a lot of cringe in it, but it's still a very fun movie. I know that most people remember it because the opening is one of the best, if not the best, cold openings we've still ever had. But beyond that, it's not exactly a great movie, but it's still a very fun movie, and one of those that if you don't take too serious, it can be a blast. And that's kind of the case with a lot of the movies from the early 2000s. They're not exactly great movies, a little heavy-handed, a little overacted. There's that cheap sheen glow that a lot of these movies had, but with some popcorn, especially if you don't take it overly serious, I think it's a great time, and that's why Ghost Ship had to be on this list. Sea Fever is a 2019 Irish horror movie, written and directed by Nisa Hardiman. It stars Hermione Corfield, Dougray Scott, and Connie Nielsen. The plot's about a crew of an Irish trawler marooned at sea that struggle for their lives against a growing parasite in their water supply.
It went into the water. We're all vulnerable to get infected.
I can't see.
This is a very small production movie that never really has gotten a lot of love. People just don't know about it, and it's really unfortunate because it's a really good movie that focuses on dread and anxiety. It's a small cast and there isn't a lot of action. It's more of situational anxiety that builds up as things start to happen around them, and the way they deal with each other as well as how they get out of this situation. And sometimes less is more, because what you don't see and the way the pacing's done to where it slowly builds this anticipation and the mystery behind that, it can really be extremely effective. And this is one of those situations, because you do see some things, you do learn and get an idea of what you're dealing with, but just the way that it's handled really adds to the atmosphere and the creep factor. But it's a movie that really preys on the mystery and the dread and things like that of what we don't know that's down there in the ocean. And like I've talked about before, the ocean as well as space, that unknown element, that cosmic horror, Lovecraftian, eldritch horror thing is what really gets under my skin. And this is another one of those movies that lives in that space. But I think if you enjoy dread-filled, indie, slow burn sci-fi horror movies, then Sea Fever is a fantastic pick.
Save your last breath to scream.
Mayday! DeepStar Six!
From the creator of Friday the 13th, DeepStar Six.
DeepStar Six is a 1989 sci-fi horror movie. Directed and co-produced by Sean S. Cunningham. It stars Greg Evigan, Nancy Everhard, and Matt McCoy. A team of Navy personnel stationed at the bottom of the ocean discover a huge underwater cavern which houses a giant prehistoric creature.
250?
Look at that mother.
200 meters. 150 meters.
I think we're in big trouble, boss.
100 meters. Get the hell out of here!
This movie is just so much fun. It's full of that 80s charm of the sci-fi horror movies from that era. Yeah, the practical effects are a little bit cheesy at times. You know, there's definitely some of that involved. It's not the highest budget movie in the world, but it's just so much fun. I love the cast. I really enjoy the creature design. I love the way the set looks, the costume design, all of that. Even though it is, like I said, not quite the highest budget and it doesn't exactly hold up in some ways, the way that it's put together, you could just feel the fun in this movie. And it's just a lot of action, exciting, weirdness, strangeness. It's just a blast. It's one of those movies that you just don't take too serious. It's one of those popcorn kind of horror movies that I talk about all the time. And it's one that when you're done watching it, you'll leave with a smile. So for those reasons and the fact that it's nostalgic, I love this movie. And if you have yet to see DeepStar 6, do yourself a favor and check this one out.
Deep Rising.
Deep Rising is a 1998 action horror movie written and directed by Stephen Sommers. It stars Treat Williams, Famke Janssen, and Anthony Hild. A group of heavily armed hijackers board a luxury ocean liner to loot it, only to battle with a series of large-sized, tentacled, man-eating sea creatures.
I got a really bad feeling about this.
The ship's infested.
Let's get the hell out of here! This movie's wild. It's so much fun. It's full of action. It's exciting. Definitely not one to take serious again. But it's really wild because this does not feel like of its time. This feels like something that should have come out in the late 80s, maybe the early 90s, kind of like DeepStar 6. Yes, it's a little bit of a higher production value. The special effects and all that definitely looks better. And they do have some CGI in here that doesn't exactly hold up. But for the most part, it's just, it has that tone to it that feels much more like the action sci-fi horror movies of the late 80s, early 90s. Not of something that's in the late 90s, early 2000s era. It just doesn't feel like those movies, which is part of, I think, why I remember it so fondly, because even already at that time, it felt like something that I would have loved as a teenager, not so much what I was seeing coming out at that time. But Treat Williams is so much fun in this. He's just a badass. He's got that real, old school 1980s action hero vibe and style, and the way he performs his role. There's a lot of humor to this. It's definitely a movie that doesn't take itself serious at all. But I also love the creature in this. I love the design. And even though, like I said, some of the CGI and things they do use in this don't exactly work, there's also a lot of practical and things that they do in it that are just awesome and do still hold up, especially if you're someone like me that loves practical effects. But there's so much zany, exciting, weird, and strange, but yet just badass fun in this. I mean, like the scene where they're on jet skis. I mean, there's so many things that are so over the top, not like anything really else we've seen before and probably will never see again. But that's a lot of what gives this movie its charm and makes it just so much fun to watch. But Deep Rising will always have a soft spot in my heart, especially if I'm talking about ocean-based horror movies.
Who are you?
Triangle is a 2009 psychological horror movie. Written and directed by Christopher Smith, it stars Melissa George, Michael Dorman, and Liam Hemsworth. When 5 friends set sail on a yacht, it's overturned by a strange and sudden storm. But when a mysterious ship arrives to rescue them, what happens next cannot be explained.
Oh, thank God.
This is one I have to really be careful talking about because it can easily be spoiled. And if you go into this pretty much as blind as possible, you'll enjoy it 1,000 times more. There's so many twists and turns and things that it does that keeps you guessing, keeps you wondering what exactly is happening here. And when it concludes, it's really satisfying. But this is a movie that really falls into that hidden gem category. It's a movie that up until really a couple years ago, I never heard anybody talk about. But like since 2020, I've started to hear more and more people mention this on these lists when, you know, other YouTubers are talking about hidden gems and underrated movies. And it's well warranted because the story and the way it's put together is what makes this movie special. But it also has this cool neo-noir, you know, mystery look and feel about the way that it's put together. I also think Melissa George is fantastic in this and does a great job of doing all the different things that she has to do to make this movie work. But when you're talking about twisted psychological horror movies, this is one that's really near the top. And so if you haven't seen Triangle, do yourself a favor and make this the next thing that you watch. Deep Blue Sea is a 1999 sci-fi horror movie. Directed by Rennie Harlan, it stars Thomas Jane, LL Cool J, and Samuel L. Jackson. Searching for a cure for Alzheimer's disease, a group of scientists on an isolated research facility become prey as a trio of intelligent sharks fight back.
Tell me I didn't see that. They recognize that gun.
It's impossible. Sharks do not swim backwards. They can't.
It's so funny just even reading that premise. It's so hard to take this movie serious. It could never be done today and be seen as a serious movie. But as strange as it sounds, at the time, it did feel like a serious movie. I mean, yeah, there is definitely a little bit of camp and cheesiness to the idea, but the way that the movie handles it, it doesn't really feel cheesy. Even if you watch it now, it still does hold up in a lot of ways. It's exciting, it's intense, it's nail-biting. I also love the way the sharks look, and a lot of the things that were done in this, you know, have been done since in different movies, like especially The Meg, I felt like had a lot of things it was taking from this movie. And tonally, sure, this is a fun movie. It's an action-packed, you know, sci-fi horror type of movie. It's not one that's overly serious. But I just mean, it wasn't a cheesy movie. It wasn't meant to be laughed at or made fun of. And I love that about it because in this era, you could still get away with such a kind of silly, over-the-top premise being taken at least somewhat seriously. And then I also love this cast. I mean, LL Cool J is fantastic, Thomas Jane is, but you can't forget Samuel L. Jackson. And if you've seen this movie, you know which scene I'm talking about, but he will forever be remembered for that moment and what happens to him. But as far as action-packed sci-fi shark horror movies goes, Deep Blue Sea is about as good as it gets and definitely deserves to be on my list.
What happens if Jerry gets mad?
Sphere is a 1998 sci-fi psychological horror movie. Directed and produced by Barry Levinson, it stars Dustin Hoffman, Sharon Stone, and Samuel L. Jackson. A spaceship is discovered under 300 years worth of coral growth at the bottom of the ocean.
What do you think it is?
I don't know. Whatever it is, it's alien.
I just love this movie. I love the pacing of it. I love the dread. I love that, like I was talking about earlier, that otherworldly, unknown element, that Lovecraftian, you know, space, cosmic horror kind of thing. And what's cool about this is we've seen this kind of premise done before, but it's always done in space. And so to be done on the ocean floor and to include the different things that they do, there's a lot of imagination and creativity that this movie has. And I did just talk about this in my last video of highly recommended movies, but I just think it deserves more credit than it gets. I feel like a lot of sci-fi horror fans would still appreciate this, you know, younger ones that haven't seen it. And I do think it's great on a rewatch as well for those of us that have already seen it. It has a fantastic cast, a lot of cool sci-fi horror elements. It looks great. The special effects and things that are done in it, most of them are practically done and still look great today. So if it's been a while since you've seen Sphere, or if you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. It's definitely one of my favorites and one I think you'll enjoy as well.
Leviathan.
Leviathan is a 1989 sci-fi horror movie directed by George P. Cosmatos. It stars Peter Weller, Richard Crenna, and Ernie Hudson. Perched on the hull of a wrecked Soviet freighter, a team of deep-sea miners comes face to face with a mutant creature that's the product of a failed genetic experiment.
That's already killed one man.
My rebreather stopped. I'm losing compression. I can't breathe.
Whatever got Six-Pack and Bowman, it's still here.
Here's another one that's a blast. It's a lot of fun. But unlike DeepStar 6, this one takes it more serious. It doesn't feel quite as over the top, doesn't feel quite as campy. In a lot of ways, this basically is the movie Alien. It's just on the bottom of the ocean instead of in space. I mean, it's even promoted, especially in the trailer, and in every way they promoted it as Alien, but with a sea creature kind of deal. And you could still feel a lot of that leftover Soviet Cold War stuff all over this as well. But there's definitely a lot of things in this that are nostalgic and really take me back to being a kid. And I love that about this movie. Just the way the pseudoscience and technology look, it's really fun. They did a great job with the special effects in this, the costume design. I love the way they look. They got a lot of style to them. And even though this is similar, like I said, to other movies, especially Alien, it has its own flavor, its own style, and its own way of doing things that I appreciate. But also, I just will never get tired of horror, sci-fi kind of movies that are done in either space or at the bottom of the ocean. And especially the ocean, because I feel like there's so much left there that could be done and so little that we have seen done with that. But this movie is exciting, it's intense, it's a nail biter, the action is great in it, it just has that real crescendo at the ending that just leave you satisfied with a smile on your face. And when I first decided to put this list together, one of the first movies to jump to mind was Leviathan. So there was no way I was gonna do this without including it on it.
There's something following us.
Underwater is a 2020 sci-fi horror movie. Directed by William Eubank, it stars Kristen Stewart, Vincent Cassell, and Jessica Henwick. A crew of oceanic researchers working for a deep-sea drilling company try to get to safety after a mysterious earthquake devastates their deep water facility. This, at least for me, is the best underwater, the bottom of the ocean sci-fi horror movie that we've had to date. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect, because I still think that there is an even better, more perfect movie that could be done dealing with these monsters and creatures and things that could be deep down at the bottom of the ocean. But like I said, as far as what we have had to date, this one felt as real and as intense and just really disturbing as anything yet. And this has started to gain a little bit of a following, but I think unfortunately because of the pandemic, when this movie came out, all of a sudden the theaters closed down. It barely had been released, and so it really didn't get a fair run. It didn't get the notoriety and the buzz and stuff that I think it might have if it had come out, you know, in a different year. But they just did such a great job of conveying that claustrophobic feeling, and it really looks so authentic, so real. Just the sediment and the stuff in the water, you can't see, but you could see just enough. It felt just absolutely brilliant, and I was so immersed into this world from beginning to end. And that's not something that happens all the time, but this is one of those, especially in a theater, that really leaps off the screen and pulls you into it. The movie Last Breath just came out this past weekend, and it's fantastic. I talked about it in my last video as well. and it does such a great job of the same thing, but it's based on a true story and it's hyper real and all that. This is a fictional world, but yet it does have a lot of those same things that make that movie so gripping and crazy and just intense as well. But I love the technology here. I love the practical effects that were used, and the CGI that is used is really well done as well. And I'm not going to spoil it because there's a lot more people that I still think need to see this movie, but there are some surprises along the way, some moments in this that just left my jaw on the floor and left me just giddy like a little kid to see that finally there was a movie doing something like this. I'm also someone that defends Kristen Stewart all the time. I think she is an incredible actor and doesn't get the love a lot of times and still is hated on. Like every time I talk about this movie or other things that she's in, there is always a bunch of comments hating on her because of her doing Twilight. And it's like, come on, people, get over this. Like at this point, you know, that movie is a lifetime ago. This is a totally different grown-up person, and her skill level and all of that is on a totally different level now than what it was back then. So give her a break and give her a chance. If you don't like her, that's fine. If you still don't enjoy her work, that's fine. But when all you do is just simply point at Twilight as why you don't like her or won't give her a chance, like, I think that's kind of ridiculous. Either way, I will not apologize for my love of this movie. I adore it. It's one of my favorite movies from the last 10 years. So if you have yet to see Underwater, it's available on Hulu, and I think you definitely should give it a shot. Jaws is a 1975 creature feature horror thriller. Directed by Steven Spielberg, it's based on the 1974 Peter Benchley novel of the same name and stars Roy Schneider, Richard Dreyfuss, and Robert Shaw. When a killer shark unleashes chaos on a beach community off of Cape Cod, it's up to a local sheriff, a marine biologist, and an old seafarer to hunt the beast down.
This is a great white, Larry. A big one. And any shark expert in the world will tell you it's a killer. It's a man-eater.
I mean, what is there that hasn't already been said about Jaws? I love this movie. It's so cool because a year or so ago, they re-released it in a theater near me. It was like the new 8K or 4K, or I don't even remember, but it was like the remastered version of it. And it just still holds up so well, still looks so good. And there's so many happy accidents involved in what made this movie so special. I mean, the fact that the big old animatronic shark, lovingly known as Bruce, didn't work was a happy accident because you don't see it a ton. You don't see a shark a ton, and it really works in its favor because it builds up that anxiety, it builds up that dread, the anticipation. It's just palpable, and the soundtrack design, it just goes so well hand in hand. On top of that, the cast is just incredible in this. There are so many iconic moments. It's just a beautifully shot movie, well paced, well directed. Like I said, it still holds up so well to this day. And there's a lot of those classics that you watch them now and you're like, yeah, sure, it's a great movie. I could see why it's so, you know, important in film history and all that, but it's kind of slow. It's a little bit boring. That's not the case with Jaws. It is still fresh. It's still, you know, it's exciting and intense. And even a movie that I've seen countless times, to still have that impact is just truly a marvel. And so when I was putting this list together of my favorite ocean-based horror movies, there was just no doubt Jaws is by far my favorite when we're talking about this kind of movie. But that's my list. That's my own personal favorites. That's not to say it's the best or what I even think are the best of this genre or subgenre. It's just what are my personal favorites, the ones I rewatch the most, the ones I get the most fun out of and enjoy for whatever reason. But I'd love to hear what yours are. So down in the comments, tell me what are your favorite ocean-related horror movies. And that's gonna do it for me today, but I wanna give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys mean so much to me. And if you would like to help support this channel over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Or you can become a channel member by clicking on that join button down there and help support the channel that way. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. And if you enjoyed this, click right here to watch me talk about 10 horror movies that I highly recommend. And I'll see you guys next time.